All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to get started. Welcome. I'm glad everybody could join tonight. My name is Michael Ellard. I am the Assistant Director in the Office of Graduate and Advancing Education at the College of New Jersey. We also have Dr. Steve O'Brien with us tonight from the STEM department. We're glad you guys were able to join us tonight, and we hope we can provide some information for you and answer all of your questions. How it's going to work is, in a few seconds, I'm going to hand this over to Dr. Steve O'Brien. He's going to give a presentation, a very informative presentation about the STEM program, and then he'll hand it back over to me, and I will speak for 10 or 15 minutes about the admissions process and all things related to that, and then we will open the floor for Q&A. This is a one-way communication. So you cannot speak to us, but you will be able to see on your right side of the screen, there's like a tab that says questions. So you will be able to type in your questions there. So I recommend any point throughout the whole presentation, just type in your questions, and then we will get to them at the end of the presentation. Also, this broadcast is being recorded. So if you have to step away for any reason, if you miss something, if you want to rewind, you can go and view the video on the graduate page on the TCNJ's website. I will be posting that tomorrow morning as soon as I'm in the office, okay? So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Dr. Steve O'Brien.
Great, thanks, Michael. I appreciate the intro. So I put together a few slides to describe the program. So hopefully these are useful. The first few slides are a little bit about me and a little bit about our programs, our STEM programs at TCNJ. And then the last 3/4 of the presentation is about the master's program itself. So I'm Dr. Steve O'Brien. I have several roles at TCNJ that will become important, I think, through this discussion. First, the coordinator of this master's program designed for in-service teachers. I'm also the director for the Center for Excellence in STEM Education. That's housed at the School of Engineering. So we do a fair amount of outreach work, including grant work, as well as doing a lot of work with integrated STEM professional development, probably for the last 6 or so years. Probably worked with, I'm guessing, 2,000, 2,500 teachers and administrators. And so we do a fair amount of work at the center. And I'm also a full professor at our faculty in the Department of Integrated STEM Education. So how we're organized at TCNJ is we're located as a department within the School of Engineering. So our department new name is Integrated STEM Education. The old name is actually down the corner here to Department of Technological Studies. I didn't get a chance to edit that yet. So in the School of Engineering, there's 4 other departments as well that are the content areas: electrical, mechanical, civil, and biomedical engineering. So the School of Engineering has about 700 students, about 27 faculty. So the department we're in is strictly focused on teacher preparation and education. And that's how a lot of the education is organized at TCNJ, at least education programs. For example, many of the secondary ed faculty in the content areas are located in their content area. So for example, math ed faculty are in the math department. There's certainly quite a few education faculty in the School of Education as well, but the content areas tend to be out in the departments that house the content areas. And this is no different. So in terms of what we do in that department, we have 2 undergraduate programs that focus on STEM, as well as 2 graduate programs. The undergraduate programs are a secondary ed program, so it's technology, pre-engineering. Then we have a K-5 program, which is integrated STEM education, so that's the name of it. That's often the largest education major on campus and is probably the oldest integrated STEM program in the country. So we've been doing integrated STEM for quite a few years at TCNJ. The graduate programs, we have a master's in their teaching. That's for career changers. So that's someone, hey, for example, is an architect or engineer, and they want to get back to school to teach, and this results in initial certification in a field. In this case, it'd be a STEM technology pre-engineering field. That program will probably not going to support that starting this summer. So we'll probably start to have that program wane a little bit. I'm going to put more focus on this program. And this program is the Integrated STEM Masters of Education designed for in-service teachers. As a quick note here, also that Center of Excellence for STEM Education, give you a few examples of the kinds of things we've done there. We host the state's middle school and high school technology student association competitions every spring. It's about 2,500 students we host every spring. We design curriculum. An example here would be a grade 9 through 12 program of study for STEM that has a theme of socially responsible engineering. We do a fair amount of NGSS, integrated STEM PD for teachers. And more recently, we have a grant to do STEM through computer science education, building capacity, building more computer science teachers in New Jersey. The faculty are myself, Dr. Cathell, who's chair, Dr. Figueroa, Dr. Huffman, and then we have one full-time line that we're currently searching for this program. We have quite a few adjuncts as well. These adjuncts are also very useful in this master's program as well. Some of the adjuncts have excellent expertise in some of the courses and are starting to teach some of these master's courses as well. So many of these teachers have a lot of years of experience doing STEM education in their classrooms, so we take advantage of that. So we have multiple locations. We started this program beginning of last summer, so it's beginning of summer 2016, and that was starting an on-campus version of the program. And then this last spring, meaning just a few months ago, we started a Northern Satellite program in Chatham Middle School. And so that was an attempt to try to reach out to a larger population of teachers that work and live up in northern New Jersey, being probably an hour and a half or more from New Jersey, or sorry, from TCNJ. We figured that might be more convenient for the teachers. And we're also started a few weeks ago thinking about the possibility of offering online possibilities. So we're still in discussions on that, and we'll post any results of those discussions online on our website. So what is integrated STEM education is probably the best place to start. And I'll try to keep these discussions pretty brief, but I think the name is indicative of what we mean by integrated STEM education. So first and foremost, it's integrative. So there's a fair amount of emphasis on integrative approach to teaching and learning. So meaning it's a cross-curricular approach. So many of these STEM components can work with each other. So you get a very multidisciplinary approach to the teaching and learning environment in your classroom. But at least as importantly are the connections to non-STEM content areas. Language arts, 21st century skills, a host of non-STEM components we actively review and participate in when we do, for example, curriculum development in this program. The second main aspect of integrated STEM education is design pedagogies. So it's really focused on the T&E of STEM. So we think that's actually fairly central to the methods and pedagogies that we base this whole program on, as well as our undergraduate programs. So design pedagogies really are, how do you teach design? How do you teach students to design and learn from that multidisciplinary environment? So it's essentially design-centric problem/project-based learning, if you want to give it a quick description. And so how do you do that in a classroom? And so we spend a fair amount of time talking about how you do that and the framework for doing that in a classroom. So we think of design as being really a way to provide a full framework for teaching and learning methods. So for example, our undergraduate students, we get them luckily for 4 years. In the last year and a half or so, we spend some time talking to them about teachers as designers. So after many years of practicing design in terms of designing widgets or processes and what the importance are of doing integrated STEM in those environments, we also then start talking about, well, as a teacher, you're a designer. You're a designer of teaching and learning experiences. So those habits of minds of designers become, I think, fairly important to set a framework for themselves as teachers. And so we also get into that in the master's program as well. So what are the key attributes of the program? We went through the first two already, meaning integrative and design pedagogies. The the third and fourth areas that we think are very important are, we do spend a fair amount of time on content area knowledge. So we think that's very important. And so there's requirements for several content area courses depending on what pathway you choose. So I think that's important, and it's also could lead to additional endorsements depending on the teacher's background, how many other content courses they have, say for example in math or science. Practical approach. In designing this program, we took an approach that was really not, for example, heavily theoretical. There's certainly, it's a master's program and we have theoretical basis for everything we do. But at the same time, we have to realize, I think, that these are teachers in our classrooms, and we need to make sure that those classes are run and organized so that teachers leave with things that are very valuable to them in the classroom. And so we do, for as an example, a fair amount of curricular development, even in content courses, and certainly in our core courses. So teachers need to leave with something that's valuable for them. And so we try to keep that as a main focus for all the courses we do. So in terms of the program, so there's three main parts of the program in terms of the course structure. There's an integrated STEM core, there's a content and research section, and then electives. And so I'll briefly describe these in that order. So this is the integrated STEM core. There's foundations in integrated STEM, STEM 510, followed by a pedagogy course 520 and a curriculum course 530. After that, there's an emerging trends and issues, STEM 610, and then the last two courses are really taken together. It's a STEM 61, which is creativity and systems thinking in education, and tied with that is a STEM 700, which is a 0 credit course, which really is a way to capture the culminating experience that the teachers do as part of this program. That last course we'll be teaching for the first time this coming fall. And so students that started, some of the students that started this program last summer will be finishing this program this spring. And so they'll be doing their culminating experience this fall in their classrooms. As an example, that culminating experience could be, a fairly involved integrated STEM unit that they're going to implement and measure impact, or it could be, for example, organizing a fairly in-depth professional development experience for fellow teachers, or maybe for administrators, or even for parents or the community, where the emphasis is on designing that experience and then measuring the impact of that experience as well. The second portion of courses are hold content and research courses. So there's a STEM 631, which is applied math and statistics. Second course would be kind of you can choose of one of 5 courses. We'll review these courses later. But for example, there's a biotechnology systems. Currently, I'm teaching an electronics science and technology systems course. And so there's 5 courses. We'll review those later. There's another content course that we require a student or teacher to take. And then EFN 508 is an introduction to educational research. That's a pretty typical educational research course is required of most master's programs. One of the reasons we choose to require the STEM 631, the applied math course, is from lessons we've learned with undergraduate students, and that is oftentimes it's easy for a teacher to teach design and not necessarily involve much quantitative thinking of their students. And so here we try to help the teachers by giving them a fair amount of applied math, problem-based learning experiences in that class. And from that, hopefully, help them bring more quantitative reasoning expectations to their students in the classroom. And the last, here they are. Here are those content courses that I mentioned earlier. So there's 5 here, in addition to that math course. There's a data visualization and analytical information design course. That course is very quantitative reasoning oriented, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a math course. The idea behind this course is, as an example, a teacher often would spend a fair amount of time trying to understand, how do I get a student to visualize this? So how can I visualize this kind of concept, or for the students? And so, do I graph it? Do I talk about it? I mean, how do I make this visual to the students? And so this is the general concept here: is how do you visualize data in general to amplify certain aspects of a system or a phenomena? And so this ties directly to both science, STEM, and how a teacher needs to think or can help them think about how to visualize concepts for their students. The other 4 courses are biotechnology systems course, an architectural and civil engineering course, mechanical and electronics technology systems and design courses. The third section of courses is really just electives. So that's a pathway that the teacher needs to choose for what they prefer to do to cap off their experience for this master's program. So there's 6 possibilities, so it can get a little bit complicated here, but this is really designed to give more flexibility to teachers. So there's a supervisor certification pathway, and that's a New Jersey State certification. There's a design pathway. The design pathways really take those 4 courses, would be the content course I just described. There's an inclusion, practices, and special education pathway, a middle school math pathway, a research pathway, and a self-defined pathway. So I think the names of these pathways are fairly descriptive. The ones I've colored in green are by far the choices that teachers are making so far. I think we have about 27 teachers in this program now, and I'd say 4 have chosen design pathway and the rest have chosen the supervisor pathway. And actually 1 student has chosen to do the research pathway because they want to go on to do their PhD, which is what the intended purpose for that pathway was. So there are some certifications that you can get. One I mentioned earlier is the New Jersey State Supervisor Certification, and that's described here. You can look it up online at the New Jersey DOE website, but these are just a summary of the requirements to get that certification. So first you need a master's degree, and that's of course what this program would satisfy. You need to have New Jersey instructional certification, and if you're a teacher in New Jersey, that obviously is satisfied. You need 3 years of successful full-time teaching, and then you need 12 credits of graduate study in staff supervision and curricular design. And those 12 credits would be a part of that master's program. So the 4 courses, for example, one would choose for that sort of supervisor certification pathway are listed here at the bottom. So there's an instructional leadership course, curriculum theory and practice, seminar and school leadership, so it's an educational leadership course, and then an advanced curriculum course. So those would be the 4 courses you would take to satisfy the New Jersey State Supervisor Certification pathway and get the New Jersey State certification for this. Other possible certifications are in 2 categories here. One I mentioned, the New Jersey Supervisor Pathway already, for certification. The second would be these content courses that you would take as part of this program would satisfy New Jersey State content courses. So that may help you achieve a middle school math or science endorsement, or may lead to a secondary endorsement in math or science, or potentially technology education. There's internal New Jersey or TCNJ certificates, which would be iSTEM and educational methods if you complete the core, and then special ed if you do the special ed pathway, research for the research pathway, and then that design pathway certification as well. Those last 4 are TCNJ specific, so that those are certifications that are not endorsed by an external entity, but really just as a TCNJ certificate. So in summary, there's 36 credits for the program, 15 credits in the core, 9 credits in these content and research courses, and then 12 credits you choose as an elective. And I can take questions either now, or I guess, Michael, we can do it after your presentation. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and switch the screen to mine, and then we could do some questions at the end.
Sounds good.
So let me just change the screen here. Okay. All right. So just as a reminder, my name is Michael Ellard. I'm the Assistant Director in the Office of Graduate and Advancing Education. So throughout the whole admissions process, I will be your contact with the application and everything like that. I know we've had some new people join us, so I just wanted to remind everybody that you should see on the the bar on your screen. There should be a questions tab. So feel free to type out any questions that you have for Dr. Steve O'Brien or myself, and we will answer those after my presentation. And also, this presentation is being recorded, so you will be able to watch the video on our website. I will be posting it tomorrow morning as soon as I get to the office. All right. So, brief overview of the College of New Jersey. It was founded in 1855 as a New Jersey State normal school. For those of you that are not familiar with a normal school, it was a teacher's college. So for anybody in the state that wanted to become a teacher, this is the place where they would go. Over the next approximately 100 years, as the college started to expand their program, started to offer more degrees, they changed their name to, some of you may remember, Trenton State College. And it stayed that way until the mid-1990s, when it changed its name to its current form, the College of New Jersey. Over the years, the college has received a lot of national acclaim, which I will talk about on my next slide. For those of you that have not been to campus, we are located in Ewing, New Jersey, which is about 10 to 15 minutes from the state capital of Trenton, about an hour from Philadelphia, and an hour and a half from New York City. So we are right in a prime location in the heart of New Jersey. For those students who are interested in being full-time students and living on campus, the college has just built what is known as Campus Town. So those are apartments where graduate students can live. It's a big complex, so they have everything over there from not only your apartment that you would live in, but there's a Starbucks over there, there's a bookstore, there's a Panera, there's restaurants, there's shops, the gym is over there. So it's a brand new complex, and you can't miss it when you're on campus. So for those students that are interested in staying on campus, it's worth looking into. Or if you get to campus an hour before class, need somewhere to hang out, get something to eat, that's a great place to look into as well. So I mentioned the national acclaim. Two things that really stood out to me on this slide right here is U.S. News and World Report ranked us the #1 public college for the master's category in the northern region of the country for the past 2 decades. Also, Barron's ranked us on a list of 75 colleges of one of the most competitive from the state-supported institutions. We're right up there with University of Virginia, UNC Chapel Hill, William & Mary, UCLA. Why those two things stood out to me was, one, ranked #1 for the past 2 decades. That shows consistency, that shows longevity, and then ranked most competitive in some of the top schools all over the country. So nationally known. So those are two things that we're proud of, and we like to advertise. Some of the fast facts about the graduate office, or about graduate school at the College of New Jersey. Annually, we bring in about 1,100 new applications. You can see the breakdown, summer, fall, and spring. I put faculty review because that's kind of the admissions process that we have. The faculty, they are the ones who actually review your application. They determine who they're going to accept and whatnot. But the admissions staff, myself included, we're the ones who work with you throughout the admissions process. So, to fill out your application, to send in your transcripts and your test scores and all of that, that goes to my office. We put together your complete admissions file, and then the program coordinators, like Dr. Steve O'Brien, he would be the one reviewing your application. He lets us know the decisions, and then we inform you of the decision. So we are essentially the middleman in the admissions process. You see the breakdown of female to male ratio and the ethnicity breakdown as well. Currently, we're at 70% part-time versus 30% full-time. To be a full-time student, you need to take a minimum of 9 credits or 3 courses. And since many grad students are working, they have families, you don't have time to take 3 courses a semester. That's why majority of the students are part-time. When a student is accepted, we give you a 6-year window to complete your degree. So, if you wanted to take a course in the fall and then not take one in the spring, and take 2 in the summer, we allow you that flexible schedule. 85% New Jersey residents versus 15% non-New Jersey residents. We're hoping to see that number change in a little bit because we have just, people see state schools as, more affordable for New Jersey residents. But we just approved in July for students in Pennsylvania that are within a 40-mile radius of TCNJ, you will qualify for in-state tuition. So again, that is students in Pennsylvania within a 40-mile radius of TCNJ. They will qualify for in-state tuition. So we're pretty happy about that. And if we have anybody in that 40-mile radius in Pennsylvania listening here tonight, you will receive in-state tuition. You'll see over 500 students graduate every year in the graduate programs. So we bring in about 1,100 new applications and have about over 500 that graduate. The GRE score. So many programs require the GRE. The average score nationally is a 150 to a 160, and you can see by our verbal and quantitative scores, we are right in the middle of that. And then our acceptance rate and yield rate is right on par with the national average as well. So now about the admissions process. We have two types of applications. There are students who apply for matriculation and non-matriculation. The big difference here is students who are going for a degree, they know exactly what they want. Matriculation is the application for you. I like to say non-matriculation is more like undecided. If you just want to take a course, for personal growth or whatever it is, if you want to see if a program is right for you, then non-matriculation is the way to go. We do recommend not taking any more than 2 non-matric courses if you plan on eventually matriculating, because those 2 courses will transfer over to the degree. But for students that want to go for the degree, they have the intent to complete the degree, then matriculation is the way to go. So for those students interested in applying for matriculation, there are a few pieces that you'll need to submit. First off, the online application. You'll see the application fee. It is waived for any TCNJ undergraduate students or graduate students. The essay, 2-letter recommendation, GRE scores, which do get waived for former TCNJ students who have a 3.0 GPA or higher, or anybody come from a different school who have a 3.2 or higher. And every program does have supplemental items that they need to submit. So hopefully this link works and it will take us to the website. And you'll see here, this is right on the graduate page website. What you do is if you scroll over apply and you see the required supplemental documents, you click on that, you find the iSTEM program, and then you scroll down here and it lists everything here that you need to submit. So you'll see some additional items, teaching certification, the iSTEM field report, things like that. And if you click on each one, it'll scroll you down and it'll give you a brief description of everything they need right here. Okay. While we're on the website here, I will show you at the top, you'll see the bar right there. We are holding a graduate open house on Wednesday, September 6th at 4 p.m. So you can click right there to register, and you'll be able to meet Dr. Steve O'Brien on that night. So if you're interested, register tonight, and then I'll be sending out more information as we get closer. Okay. So students who are applying for non-matriculation, it's a lot less complicated of a process. You fill out the online application, the $75 application fee, again, the same waivers for the matriculation application, brief statement of goals, and your resume. You get all 4 of those pieces in, you'll be reviewed, hopefully admitted, and then what's going to happen is you're allowed to take up to 2 courses, like I said, that will transfer into a matriculation degree. So if you're not sure if it's a program for you, go non-matric, and then see what the program is all about. So here are the matriculation deadlines. So for students interested in applying for the fall, you'll see that the final deadline has already passed, August 1st. But we are able to accept students after this deadline. So if you want to start taking classes in the fall, what you'll do is you'll go on our website, you'll click on apply. Unfortunately, the fall 2017 application you will not be able to fill out. So what you do is you can fill out the spring application, email me, I'll show you my email information at the end, and then we'll be able to backdate it to the fall, okay? So again, the fall application is not available because the deadline has passed, but if you fill out the spring application, it's basically the same information, just a different date. So if you fill out the spring application, email myself, I will go into the system and I will backdate it to the fall, and you get all your documents in, you'll be reviewed, and then you'll be all set. I do recommend, if you are interested in the fall, doing it sooner rather than later, just because next Thursday we are holding our fall orientation, and then classes start at the end of the month. So you do want to kind of get that process going soon. But if you want to wait until spring or summer, then you'll see the deadlines posted there as well. For those students interested in applying for non-matric, you still have time for the fall. The deadline is August 15th. And then, unfortunately, after the August 15th deadline, we cannot accept any new applications for non-matric or matriculation. Okay? And then you'll see the deadlines for the spring that are listed there. So if interested, you do still have about a week to get the application in. All right. So lastly, students who are interested in being a graduate assistant and helping, with the cost of tuition. For this year, anybody interested in this year, the positions are already full, but you can apply for next year. The application goes live in January, and then the deadline is April 15th. If you go on our website, you'll find more information as well. So a graduate assistant, basically how it works is you do not apply to be a graduate assistant in my office or in the library or wherever it is. You just apply to be a general graduate assistant, and then all of the departments on campus, there's approximately 30 of them that hire graduate assistants. They will look over all the resumes. They will contact you and decide who they want in their office. So you just apply to be a general graduate assistant. You don't apply for a specific department, okay? To be eligible, you must be a full-time student, which is, as I mentioned before, 9 credits or a minimum of 3 courses, and you must be a matriculated student, and you must have a minimum GPA of 3.0. If selected to be a GA, you will work 15 hours a week during the fall and spring semester, okay? And for your compensation, you will get $5,000 each semester, so $10,000 for the year. You are allowed a maximum of two years, and after the first year, you would apply for renewal for your second year. So it's a maximum of 2 years and 15 hours a week, $10,000 for your compensation. So it's definitely something to look into if you have the time and if you're interested. All right. So as I mentioned before, if you are interested in applying and you want to fill out that spring application, send me an email right here. Here's my email address, my phone number. Just let me know, and I will backdate it for you. And then if you want to reach out to my office, the contact information is there as well. So let me get to some of our questions now. All right. So this one is for Dr. Steve O'Brien. What is the timeline for completing this program?
Yeah, that's mostly defined by the teacher. We had students start the program at the beginning of last summer, and I think 2 or 3 of them will finish this coming spring. So that's a little over a year and a half. So they went through fairly quickly. So that's 3 students out of 25 or 28. The rest, I think, are a much slower pace. So it can be 2 years, can be 3. That's really defined by the teacher. So it's not a cohort-driven program. And sometimes it can be, and if a bunch of students start at the same time, we do try to keep them together in some of the main core courses. But again, it's not required. We had several students drop out of those core courses because they didn't have time, and they took other courses instead in the supervisor pathway, and then they came back in and got caught up with us on the last 3 courses of the core later on. So yeah, so it really defines to be defined by the teacher, by the student. Yeah.
Okay, so for students who are applying now after the deadline, will they have trouble registering for their classes?
Let's see. I don't think so. I mean, the courses that are being offered this fall and spring are, well, certainly the fall is already determined, and so I don't think they would have a hard time registering for the courses, but I would prefer to have application materials in, let's say by the 3rd week of August for sure. Because classes start, I think, when did classes start? Like the 28th, Michael?
Yeah,
27th,
yeah, right around
there.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I, probably need, a week to maybe go through applications and whatnot. So middle of August to the 3rd week of August. And then classes would start around August 28th. So that should be fine. I mean, the course is already set, so there's not much choice. So the courses that are being offered this fall are being offered this fall. So.
Okay. Where are the off-campus classes usually held in Chatham?
Yeah. So all the courses so far have been held at the Chatham Middle School. We actually did our 5:30, our curriculum course this summer, and the students we met actually at the Chatham Library in downtown Chatham. They're a really nice library with 3 or 4 rooms that are available to use by the public. So we actually used that because the middle school was, there was a lot of work being done at the middle school. We couldn't use the middle school. The next course in that for those students will be taught, actually not Chatham Middle School, will be taught at Livingston High School because the teacher who's teaching it is a teacher out of Livingston. And so it makes most sense to use the materials that he has access to out of Livingston. And so all the courses will not be in one location, but they're all probably within 5 to 12 minutes or so from Chatham if they're not in Chatham already, or in Chatham completely. So that's the purpose, is to stay fairly close to the Chatham Livingston area for those satellite courses.
All right, and it looks like one more question. Actually, here, let me see. All right, are the classes in a sequence, or do you have more flexibility in course selection?
Yeah, the so the courses do have some sequencing to them. So as an example, I'm going to give you an example of some sequencing. I'll give you an example where there's not sequencing. And I think it's important maybe to, or might be useful to go through both kinds of examples just to give you a feeling for how we've designed the program. So for example, STEM 510 is the foundations course, and that was originally designed to be probably the starting course. But it turns out that a lot of students are wanting to start the program when that course is not being offered. And so we end up having some flexibility there. So they start by taking a content course. So many of the students this summer and last spring started by taking that math course or my electronics course as to start the program. Then they caught up with 510 the next semester. And so that's an example of how we can be flexible. So there's certain courses that do not have prereqs, and that mostly enable students to start the program even when 510 is not being offered, or fill in some courses when the next course sequence in a course sequence hasn't come up yet, which leads me to what's sequenced. So the sequencing of courses that makes most sense are the core courses. I don't have it slide up here, but like STEM 510, STEM 520, and STEM 530, those essentially need to be in order. So those are the only courses that are primarily giving limit. The sequencing of those courses would be something you have to keep an eye on. And then a few of those core courses need to be done before you take the Trends and Issues course and before you take that culminating course, the STEM 661. So there's some sequencing, but there's a lot of content courses kind of allow you to not sequence. I didn't comment on any of the supervisor pathway courses. Those 4 courses that are offered by the School of Education, and I'm not completely sure how often those are offered, but I don't think those are necessarily sequenced courses. I think the only 2 that come to my mind is one of those is an advanced curriculum course, and the other was a graduate curriculum course. And I think one is certainly required for the other. The other graduate program course that's required here is EDFM 508, that Introduction to Research course, and that's offered fairly often. So that's another course that you can often fill in. One thing I should also, another thought that comes to mind in terms of the quantity of courses and the rate to take them, during the fall and spring semesters, you can take 3 courses or 2 courses for sure, 3 if you want to go full time. But in the summer courses, since those are only 5-week sessions, those are very condensed courses. We only really allow you to take 1 course per summer session. And so if you take a summer 2 and a summer 3 course, you can really only get 2 courses in the summer. Might be possible to do 3 if you go between the satellite program and TCNJ, but just as an FYI. So summer and fall courses, the students that went through quickly took 2 courses each of those fall and summer sessions, and then they took 2 courses in the summer 2 and summer 3.
Okay, so it looks like that's all the questions for tonight. I just want to remind everybody that we are having our open house on September 6th at 4 o'clock. It is a Wednesday, so if interested, I encourage you to go to the graduate page to register, and you'll be able to meet myself and Dr. Steve O'Brien that night. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to contact myself, contact our office, or contact Dr. O'Brien. But I'd just like to thank you guys for joining us tonight. And again, you can find this recording on our website tomorrow. But thank you, Steve, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate your help. Yep. Bye, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.